All right, welcome everybody to the Ameren Transit Board of Directors regular monthly business meeting, September 6, 2024. Roll call.
Eric Marshall.
Jill Johnson.
Craig Sear.
Jenny Wright.
No.
Janet, you say you're here? Okay, Janet's in place, right. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
And
the
it's
agenda?
there.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Any additions? All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Just a second.
Did you want to add the item about changing who is the signatories on the checks?
We have that resolution clear.
But it's not on the agenda.
I thought, okay. We need to add a, additional business item, which is changes who can sign because of, departure of
Dan Heverly.
Dan. Just normal bookkeeping.
How come it's not on the agenda?
Apparently it was missed.
I'm gonna stick with my motion, so it can fail, but I'm done with the last minute not getting it right. Someone could rescind the second, but I'm not changing my original motion.
Okay, I have moved to, I move that we place this,
You can't do that.
We already have a motion and a second.
We have a motion on the floor.
but can, okay, I want to amend the motion.
Yes, and I'm the original motion maker. I said no.
Okay. And so we will now vote on the agenda, motion. All those signify their support by saying aye.
I
All those opposed, nay.
No,
Okay, we have the motion fails. Did not receive a majority. So now I move that we,
your motion's gonna fail, right?
what's that?
Go ahead. We'll do
I
it.
move that we approve the agenda with an amendment, including resolution number 1024. Which is.
Second.
A resolution of the board of directors authorizing certain persons to sign leases. We have a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion fails. We are now moving, now we need a motion to approve the agenda. Agenda's already been approved.
Wait. You just said the motion fails. Have we approved the agenda or not approved the agenda? I'm
there's
confused.
no agenda. There's no agenda.
We have no agenda at this point. So Matt, what do we do?
Oh, we actually don't have an agenda.
Right, and you can't revisit the original motion. So
I look to you for guidance.
Well, you can take, you can take, at a regular meeting, you can add items as you go, so.
And how do we move forward with an?
Well, you would have to do a motion for each item individually, you'd have to say, I move that we discuss blank, and go
Okay.
item by item.
Okay, great, I'll do that. For the, okay, consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
second.
Any discussion? Does anybody want to pull anything off the consent agenda? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Since this is not a business item that's coming up, does it require a motion to? It does, okay. I move we, I move we include a presentation of the $1 Million Mile Award to bus operator Mike Newman.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 By the way, I'm like giving everybody a help me say aye.
Wow, we have a forum today.
Don't be saying.
All right, so, this is a pretty remarkable thing that's happening this morning. We are bestowing the Island Transit Million Mile Safe Driver Award on Mike Newman. Now, this is a program that was began in 2021 and is designed to recognize and celebrate operators who have driven 1 million miles without a preventable accident. It's truly a prestigious award, and it honors operators that have achieved an exceptional safety benchmark on the road. It reinforces safe driving behavior as well as contributes to a culture of safety, responsibility, and pride within the driver workforce. So to be eligible to receive this award, Mike Newman has driven an impressive 15 years without a preventable accident. He is the 11th operator at Island Transit to receive this award. In addition to his excellent driving skills, Mike consistently brings a positive attitude and is always willing to help out. His riders adore him, and we are very fortunate to have him on our team. Congratulations, Mike, and I now turn it over to Operations Interim Director Brad Windler. Please walk forward.
So as part of this program, and also recognizing your work anniversary here on the 31st for 15 years, we're going to give you a jacket that has a very nice patch that was designed in-house by staff. In fact, is Tom in the room? Tom Smith from More Road Soup. Oh, yep, he designed our patch.
Try it on. Should I try it on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's just try it on everybody for fun. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yep.
Here we go, ready? Now, this is kind of like Christmas, everybody. Sometimes we get clothes and they don't fit right, you know, we all gone through this. So we're gonna see how this fits.
No pressure.
No pressure.
And there we go.
Ta-da!
And then we also have a nice award here, we call it our egg. And of course, it comes uncracked because we're accident free around here. So thank you. Great job, Mike.
Thank you. I'm gonna make a little speech because I have nothing else to do in my life. I'll make a little speech. So my speech is, you know, every single, well, first I'm very humble for everybody came for here. Well, that's all I'll say. I need a break. I had a slow, speech.
Okay.
Okay, good. Is that it?
That's it. Let's
Okay, good. I'll do a speech and I'll break down.
We also have a certificate here for everybody, I want you to see it. And we have I guess we have 2 certificates of appreciation. Wow.
Mine's for 15 years.
Oh, right. One is for 15 years of service, which was completed August 31st, and the millions.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And it's worth noting, there's one invisible part of this, is there's somebody out on the road driving right now so that Mike can be here. So wave goodbye to Mike. I know that
I don't want to leave, actually.
I know that 1 million miles is 40 trips around planet Earth. So
It's 67,000 clean miles a year.
67,000 what?
He's had 67,000 miles
Okay,
a year of safe driving if he's been here 15 years.
that's
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I can barely get out of the Walmart parking lot.
Okay, so now, do we have a motion to include public input and comments in the event of this meeting?
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed. Abstentions, motion passes. We're now entering a public input and comment section. This is the time set aside for members of the public to speak to the board about subjects of concern or interest or items not already set aside for a public hearing. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Public comment may be ended or modified if the comments become disruptive or not germane to the business at hand. Input requiring lengthier comment is best submitted in writing. All right, are there any public comments this morning? Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to address the board. about, some bonuses that were promised to a lot of our drivers recently. And, we're not followed through with. I just implore the board that they, go through with this promise that they made to pay these people this money. So, because they deserve it, they signed on and just, some of them really could use that money immediately, so I would encourage the board to direct whoever needs to write out the check, that they do it as soon as possible. And I know that we have other ideas and proposals on the for the board to think about. Want to implore that you remember that the reason why we're still on the road and doing this, that a lot of these employees have stuck with it and have been.
And could you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Trainer Hunt, and I'm a driver for Newton Transit.
Thank you, Trainer.
Anyway, to keep the retention here for Island Transit and to encourage people, that we could go forward with, negotiations and things in the future here, near future, to, keep us all in good spirits. I guess is what it boils down to. Just wanted to finish with,
Thank you.
what my wife always, tells me, good hearts, good intentions. And for the better good of everybody. Thank you.
Are there any public comments online? Last call for public comment today. All right, I see none. Now we're moving on to board business. Do I have a motion to consider business item number 1? Second. Any discussion on whether to consider business item number 1? I'm not seeing any. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. All right, so we have received the organizational health survey, the results. I'm going to read it. It's an executive summary that I'll be reading. I'm doing this for the benefit of those that have dialed in and maybe haven't had a chance to look at it. Nash Consulting conducted both a voluntary online organizational health survey and then voluntary interviews of employees, leads, supervisors, and managers. Out of 139 employees invited to participate, 2/3 responded to the survey, and 52% were interviewed. Nash Consulting used the perspectives and opinions of those respondents and interviewees who elected to participate to provide this assessment of the organizational health and morale, meaning how it feels to work here, of Island Transit, and to provide recommendations on ways to improve both. Due to the voluntary nature of participation, these results may not be representative of the entire workforce. There is a self-selection bias that could potentially skew the result, as employees with stronger opinions or specific concerns may have been more likely to participate. While these insights below are valuable, they should be interpreted with this potential bias in mind. This process was not an investigation into any particular person, department, or situation, and there are no findings of fact. For that reason, no names or departments are mentioned in the assessment, and every attempt has been made to protect confidentiality and anonymity. And I want to emphasize that I know no identity of anyone making any specific comment here. Nash was scrupulous, and I know there was significant concern among employees. Some were much more willing than others. There was reluctance, but I think this speaks to the high participation rate. That no board members, no management, no one can tie a specific comment to a person. It's strictly anonymous. So we're going to talk about what's going well at Island Transit. There is a belief among many employees that Island Transit has historically provided an excellent and important service to the community, and they are proud to be a part of it. A significant majority of respondents agree or strongly agree that they like their jobs and hope to still be working here 5 years from now. A majority of employees report that they have healthy working relationships with their peers and coworkers. What are the current challenges for Island Transit? And there are many, but these are the top themes. Almost all respondents report that the morale of the organization is very low. The overwhelming majority of employees lack confidence in their department's leadership and in leadership generally. A majority of both employees and people leaders describe the current culture and atmosphere as one of low trust with widespread negativity and gossip, unfair accountability practices, favoritism, and witch hunts, quotes. This is very sobering to read for Island Transit leadership and the board, I would say. So recommendations, leadership and management training for all people leaders to include best practice management skills, including discussions on accountability practices, advocating for both employees and the organization, effective communication, and building and maintaining morale and engagement. Training for all employees that includes creating a high morale work environment, combating gossip and negativity, and giving and receiving feedback up and down and across lines of communication. And then after the executive director is hired, a 6 to 12 month executive team group development process to improve practices and policies at the highest levels of the organization. I want to read a memo that I sent out to the staff this morning. Hello, Island Transit staff. Today, the board will be receiving the executive summary of the Nash Consulting Report on Island Transit's Organizational Health Survey. You will find exactly what is being presented to the board below. This organizational health survey is a sobering read for Island Transit management. You have reported that while you are proud of the critical work that you do at Island Transit, there are some significant organizational challenges to getting that work done. Those concerns were and perhaps still are centered around the leadership and management of the agency. This has resulted in very low morale. And certainly since Melanie and I have arrived at the agency, we now have a very deep understanding of how these challenges have made it difficult to deliver on the mission of the agency. We are working as hard as we can to address as many issues as we can before the new executive director and HR manager are hired. I appreciate everyone that stepped forward to contribute your perspective on the agency's organizational health. I realize this was an act of courage for each one of you, given your past experiences. Many and heartfelt thanks, Greg Sear, Acting Executive Director. So I would like to have.
That was nice, Greg.
What's that?
That was very well written and nice.
Thank you. So actually, I'm going to ask our vice chair, Jenny Bright, if you'd like to make any comments about what you've seen in the summary, or you may pass and open it up to other board members.
I mean, I think it's an important commentary on the organization, and it's definitely a place to start. I think validation of the way that the employees and leaders have been feeling is, for me, and it would be validating, but it's what we do next. I think that the marching orders for leadership training and accountability practices, et cetera, without those taking place and consistency around them, then this was all for nothing. So I don't want to be negative Nelly. I just want to put it out there that the next steps have to be the next steps for the organization to mature and grow. So, and I'm grateful personally for every single employee of Island Transit that took the time to contribute to these surveys and to contribute to these one-on-ones, because that's a big investment emotionally and otherwise. And so, you know, again, gratitude all the way around to everyone involved.
Oh, no, should talk next.
Any comments, from those dialing in?
Well, I actually clicked in and didn't dial in, but thank you. Um,
Good point.
it was a very sobering read, and I thank you for the letter that you sent out to the employees. I also want to thank those who participated and those who are in the room today to see if we take this seriously, because this has been a painful episode in our transit journey together. And I hope, as Jenny stated, that we can not just be about words, but actions. And the only word in the recommendations I would add into what is in our packet is the importance of transparency, because I know that's implied, but I think what our employees are asking for around accountability, effective communication, employee morale also includes transparency, because that is perhaps one of the most concerning things for me, is that this was hidden from the board in many ways, and I appreciate the leadership to bring it forward and hope that we do take those next steps.
Yes, Melanie.
So I guess, I don't have a lot to contribute. I really appreciate your letter, Craig. I think that it does I appreciate the employees' trust in us that we're going to get things better. We have been working to get things better, but what's been really very impressive to me during the last months as we've been working through these issues that were identified, none of what we heard was a surprise, because you and I are hearing this, people to talk to us, and I'm sure they've been reaching out to other board members too. But what's been really impressive to me about the employees, we haven't seen a stream of employees leaving the age and difficult time of transition, which to me indicates that the employees have trust in that Island Transit's going to get this figured out and taken care of. And we are working hard to, just to hold up to that trust. So thank you, employees.
Any other comments from board members?
I mean, by nature, I'm pretty critical. I think we know that about me, so it's not gonna be surprising that I'm looking at this feedback, and I just want to also acknowledge very transparently that when they speak of leadership and leadership in general, that is the board. And that the failure of transparency also rests with the board by not holding transparency accountable. We did it just last month, where we had a public hearing on a document different than the document we published. Board knows better. We're all elected officials. We know the rules on that. So I also just want to stand convicted as a board. I don't want to gloss over our role in this. It's easy to say it was executive director leadership, but we are the leaders of the leader. So I want the employees to hear our acknowledgement of that, and also to be self-convicting about our roles and responsibilities in resetting the course a little bit. I think everybody's doing their best, and I, again, acknowledge that I'm a critic by nature, probably more self-critical than anything else, but I really wanna, for this to be impactful, the board has to own its piece of it as well, and publicly own its piece of it as well. And I'm doing that, and I believe we all are doing that.
All right. Any last comments?
There's
Board
a comment
members?
online. I don't know.
What's that?
There's a comment.
I think we're in the, is it Lance or is it a member of the public? No. We are going to move on, I think, now to business item number 2. I need a motion to consider business item number 2.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, why are we doing this? It seemed like we did this last month. If you look at our meeting minutes, we approved a not to exceed amount of 2.6 million last month for two. Buses.
I think we, in the end, I think speaking for staff in general, I think we wanted to make sure that we were running everything past the board. And we weren't quite sure that last month we talked about going for 2 or 3. And now we're clarifying that we're just going for 2 because we've gotten more details on the cost. And so we're clarifying that we're asking for 2 buses, not 3, and a not to exceed cost for 2.6 million.
And we didn't know the actual cost.
The action that we approved last month was to authorize the purchase of 2 hybrid electric buses utilizing the 2.6 million previously budgeted in 2024 for 2 hydrogen buses. It was motioned and approved and voted on.
Okay,
Yeah, but I agree. I think you have the authority in the last meeting.
all
All
right,
right,
so we'll move on to business item number 3. Approval.
You have to either vote down the motion
Yeah.
or rescind the motion.
Right, it's been motioned and seconded, so we have a motion on the floor.
Okay, so,
I have a question.
yes,
Sorry, I raised my hand because I was trying to.
Yeah.
And I know we'll take the action, but I just want to raise an issue of concern to me. And I'm very much, as you guys know, in support of our green energy initiative, but there was a notice last month from Puget Sound Energy about grid issues. And as we move forward in operations with some of these solutions and the how we pace those decisions, I'd like to get have the board get input on whether we have, with our solar support, the backup capacity when Puget Sound Energy isn't able to provide the energy needed for our charging stations. It's a different conversation between Snowpet and Puget Sound Energy, but I was in a meeting yesterday where other elected officials were talking about their concerns about the grid and the notice that came out from Puget Sound Energy about this. So I just want to offer that as we move forward with these hybrid electric, as we look at this, that we make sure we have that grid reliability.
So I don't mean to be controlling, but we've got a motion and a second
I
to
agree.
approve the item, so we either need to approve the item or vote it down and not discuss it, or if we're gonna discuss it.
is it appropriate to rescind the motion if the person wants to, or do we have to vote on it?
They can rescind, they could withdraw the motion.
But then the conversation's over.
Yeah, that's
Do you rescind the motion?
I rescind the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We now move to business item number 3. Is there a motion to consider business item number 3?
So,
Careful. Is there a second?
That's all I'm saying then.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion about considering business item number 3? Hearing none. Signify your support by saying aye to the motion considering business item number 3.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And motion passes. So the subject here is to approval to apply for 6 35-foot hybrid electric replacement buses through the consolidated grant program. Correct.
okay, yes, as is policy and past practice, we are coming before the board to ask for permission to apply to the consolidated grant program for the next biennium through the legislature. We want to make our ask for 6 35-foot hybrid electric replacement buses. These will go to our fixed route service. There is not a cost amount in here because we are still detailing out the cost of the current hybrids that we're going to order. And so, and that's why there's not a dollar figure in here, but the state mandate is an 80-20 split. The state grant would be 80% of the cost, of the anticipated cost, and the local match would be 20%. This does match with our transit development plan that we just approved. we had a number of vehicles for this year, that we put in that were not in the budget, so that's where those come from. And so we're asking for permission to apply for a grant.
Discussion? Questions?
Do you have an estimated range for the 20%?
Yes, it'll be roughly 300,000 per bus.
So the total of 1.382 million.
Numbers we got yesterday, are 1.42.
Yeah, and that's what we're still trying to figure out, what options we want to include. There may be some cheaper options for like flooring and seating that may bring the cost down. We're still going through that. Unfortunately, the consolidated grant program deadline is here in a couple of weeks, so we couldn't wait and bring this into October when we would have final numbers.
So 5.6 is what the
Yes, approximately,
5.6 million.
yes.
Other
And-
question?
And that'll be, so 3 buses per biennium, or sorry, 6 buses for the biennium, 3 per year in the biennium. That's how you would see it coming forward in the budget. So when the budget comes out here in a few weeks, you'll only see 3 vehicles in the budget.
Any questions for those online? Commissioner Bacon and St. Clair? No questions?
Brad, can you speak to Commissioner St. Clair's concern about the grid infrastructure?
Yes, so our hybrid electrics function a little differently than plug-in electrics. So these would not charge overnight. These have actually a separate diesel motor that, when needed, kicks online and charges the electric motor. So they're actually electrically driven vehicles. Correct me if I'm going wrong. Okay, Will's agreeing with me there. I got that detail right. So it's actually an electric motor that provides the propulsion. There's a separate diesel motor that's included that deals with charging of the hybrid when that's necessary. It also does things like regenerative braking and some other energy efficiency standards that are built into it.
I remember that now, and thank you for the clarification. I just appreciate the addressing my concern.
Yes, ma'am.
Brad, are you comfortable with the 10% year-over-year increase that's gonna for inflation?
We feel that, yeah, the cost should actually come in under that. We've been seeing between, I believe it's 4 to 9%. Yeah, and so we put it at 10 just in case, to try to be a little on the conservative side.
So Will, what is the increase in fuel economy going from the
Our
traditional?
diesel buses right now get 6.2 to 6.4. Our hybrid buses get 8.2 to 8.7. The new hybrids that we'll be getting are an Allison versus what we have right now is a BAE system. They're supposed to even get another mile to the gallon. So we're looking at other avenues on how to lighten the bus by changing from steel wheels to aluminum to get us more fuel mileage out of the vehicle. Their range on our BAEs that we have right now in depot mode, which is full electric, is 3 miles. The Allison system is 10, so we can set these vehicles up and down to where they just run electric. And they can go all the way through Harbor in a 10-mile loop, and then they come back out. The diesel motor starts back up, it regenerates the batteries, then I can go down
So it sounds like a 40 to 50% increase in
Yes.
fuel economy,
somewhere in
somewhere in generally in that range.
Yeah, and that's also what we'll allude to. Part of the reason why haven't nailed down the cost of these is because we're switching systems, and we're trying to work on that power to weight ratio to improve the fuel economy.
Are there any other questions?
Are there any other additional infrastructure costs that will come from getting these new vehicles? So we have the 20% part of the grant that we were responsible for. Are these new vehicles gonna require anything additional that we would need to put up at any of the transfer stations, staff training, tools or technology? Are there any hidden costs that we're not seeing associated with it?
No, ma'am. So, what we've included in this, because we can include it as part of the manufacturer purchase, is the specialty tools that we need when we buy a vehicle. We can also, and have included training packages so that we can send our mechanics to training from the manufacturer on these specific engines, so they can learn the differences between the Allison hybrid system and the BAE system that we currently operate. That's included in the cost already.
And the charging is the same. I mean, I don't, I know I sound like an idiot, but I want to just make sure I'm clear. The charging works the same on these new hybrid buses as the old hybrid buses. So it's not like when I get an iPhone, same company, but I gotta go buy a new charger because the old charger doesn't fit my new phone. It's not that.
Correct, because these vehicles do not plug in and charge. They charge, that's
Off
the
the
diesel,
battery.
yeah,
You just explained to me. Okay,
yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Other questions? I see no other questions. I see no hands raised, so I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. We don't have, we approved putting it discussion, we've not actually made a motion or seconded to purchase.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's just to apply for the grant. I think the purchase will come back later.
No, we moved to discuss this, but we didn't actually move to
We did
apply
not have
for
a
the grant.
motion.
So
Good catch.
I move to approve applying for 6 35-foot hybrid electric replacement buses through the FY 25-27 consolidated grant program in accordance with the 2024-2029 transit development.
Second.
Any other discussion? I see none, no hands raised. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. We now move to business item number 4. Is there a motion to discuss business item number 4?
So
Second.
We have a motion, second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're gonna talk about business item number 4. Brad, I'll let you take this order.
Okay, do we need to do the motion first, or?
No.
No.
Okay. So, this is in relation to hiring a third dispatch supervisor. As the daily functions of the operation department have been reviewed, there's a clear need for a third dispatch supervisor position. Currently, Coopville Dispatch has 2 dispatch supervisors, and there is no dispatch supervisor at Camano. Coopville still has gaps in dispatch supervisor coverage during the weekdays when the bulk of service is provided. There is also a need to provide consistent dispatcher training and refresher training as needed. In the approved Island Transit budget for 2024, there is a new safety position that was added for the maintenance department that has not been filled. In consultation with Will Vogelman, Fleet Maintenance Manager, it was determined that this position will not be filled in 2024. Operations is requesting that the new safety position be delayed until a future budget year and the funding be used for a third dispatch supervisor. This position would float between Camano and Whidbey to assist in both locations. This position will also be in charge of training for new and existing dispatchers. In the 2024 budget, $92,000 was budgeted for the wages for the new safety position. The starting wage for the new dispatch supervisor would most likely be between $80,000 and $91,000. The operations department is implementing a new fixed route dispatch system this fall. It would be ideal to hire this position in a manner that would allow them to participate in the training and setup of this new system. That includes waiting on the budget process for the 2025 budget year. For the budget, this would have no impact. The cost of the position requested will be the same or less than the amount budgeted for the eliminated safety position. The recommendation from staff is to approve, recommends approval to hire a dispatch supervisor at pay grade 8. Staff also recommends converting the funding for the maintenance safety position in the 2024 budget into the operations department for the third dispatch supervisor.
Thank you. Yes.
question, so was the safety position posted?
No, it's never been advertised to be filled.
So it was prioritized in the budget for 2024, but it was not posted. I guess the question is 2-part, is why? And then the second is who's fulfilling the duties of this safety? for the organization.
So, it would be hard to speculate whether the previous, executive director, didn't post the position or authorize posting it. We don't know.
And it wasn't my department, I wasn't
No,
involved
I
in that
understand, I
process.
just know there was, it was determined that it was
You
not
guys
needed.
speak to that, or?
Facilities has always been in charge of safety, building safety, and we still do it. Maintain the safety of all in the parking lot, so.
Meeting with the fire marshal and
Yes.
those sorts of
Yes,
inspections.
Yeah, all the safety inspections are performed by facilities.
Who asked for the position?
I believe it was, Tom Ikley, the previous maintenance manager.
He has his hand raised.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes, hello. Thank you for letting me speak. So yeah, this position was intended to fill the role of the overall safety and training, monitoring and control for the entire company. And that regards the safety as far as employee safety, the safety program, which we if some of you may remember, we did commission RLS to provide a safety program. Why the position was not posted, I do not have a good answer for you. I've pushed very strongly for it, and it didn't get done. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It is an important position that needs to get filled, in my opinion. Safety activities for the company and training is not being done by anyone in a controlled and systematic manner. Thank you.
I didn't mean to take us off, thanks, Tom. I didn't mean to take us off the path here, but I just think that we need to kind of speak to this particular role. It sounds like an impact position that we're gonna, and I guess the other piece of it is, are we gonna defer this and request it again in 2025 as a priority? Because I understand repurposing the budget for another position, but for an impact position like this, I just kind of want to know what's next.
And I don't have a great answer, because I would defer that to the next executive director, because they're going to have to evaluate our operations and what they feel is satisfactory and what they feel is not satisfactory, and how they choose to address it.
I guess I'd add to that, I would think we would want to include a safety position in the next budget to provide the executive director with flexibility if they decide they need that position.
I mean, if that's what you're saying, then you're better off to just add a new position with budget capacity rather than, because this is a personal pet peeve of mine in budgets, where you backdoor positions in, right? So this is really if we're not talking about eliminating the other position, it's really a request to add a new position, because in 2025, if you want to hire that, you have to have budget capacity. So and also I have a question about position control, right? So when you repurpose something that's in the budget and say you're asking to create a new position, repurpose funding to do that, are we eliminating then the other position? Because if not, we're really adding a new position. And I think that's an important budget control difference to understand. What we're being asked to do, if we're saying repurpose in this year, we have no way to pay for both next year. So really the request is to add a new position. That's what we're being asked to do. Or we're being asked to eliminate a position and replace a position, but we're not being asked to repurpose money, because a position needs to go away so we don't carry it on the books. I'm not being critical, I'm just saying, like, you can't.
That's how I read that as well, Commissioner, which is this is ending one position in order to add another position when I read the packet. So I'm glad you raised that for clarification. I read that when I was preparing the packet, I read it the same way, which is we are not repurposing, but we're basically eliminating one position to add this position, because that makes it budget neutral. Otherwise, it's not budget neutral. So I appreciate the clarification if that is indeed the fact.
I understand the budget neutrality piece of it, and that's where I'll try to make it, just level. But I think deprioritizing clearly what is an impact position.
Right.
It makes a statement, and for it to say that a new executive director can come in and then make the decision on whether or not there's value there. We here in the room need to determine if there's value to that position.
Yes.
Um,
In my discussions with the safety and training staff and the operations department, we do not feel that there is any function from the operations side that we are not currently addressing. So from I can't speak to all departments, but from operations department, our safety needs are being covered and met by existing staff.
and I have no doubt.
I've had my hand up for a while here, so
I
I'm
know.
just gonna jump in. Since I've been doing work at Island Transit, I've become aware, and I've spoken to Craig about this numerous times, that there's about, from my perspective, about 3 areas that needed to be beefed up that we have not, that had not been beefed up before. The first is the IT area. We have been taking actions to beef up our IT. Second is software systems controls, because we have all these different softwares anyway, we haven't done much with that yet, but we're going to have a meeting and we're going to start talking about that. The third one is risk. And I think that I'm probably gonna, when we have an executive director, speak with the executive director about this, because I think we probably need to look at risk and safety as its own entity, a standalone entity. Right now, risk, there's one person in the organization who has another full-time job, and risk is like one of her side gigs. I think it needs to be viewed as its own thing, and safety should come under that. And so I think that this is that safety issue is a 2025 for the entire agency.
But Melanie, would you recommend eliminating the current safety position from the budget?
I
Or
think
this position in on top of the existing capacity?
I think that I'll be interested in seeing, as Brad said, we have safety's okay right now for the operations side. As Tom said, he was looking at safety as an overall agency issue. I think really it's about risk and safety, Jill. And so I think that that's a 2025 initiative. So I would eliminate this position for hiring this year. And it may not exist. We may not want to create it in the way it's currently proposed in any way, the safety position, I mean. I think that for the use of 2024 dollars, the third dispatch supervisor makes more sense for the agency right now.
All right. Other questions or discussion?
What is pay scale 8? If you don't have a pay scale.
So that's the same pay scale as the other dispatch supervisors that are on right now. It starts at, I believe it's 81,000. And I believe it tops out in the low 100s. That is, if you go all the way through the scale, 80,000 to 91,000 is the first 5 steps, I believe. It gives us that range. So depending on who the candidate is, if they come in with more experience, it could be somebody that warrants being started at a higher step, or we may start them at step A.
Well, in your description here, you're speaking of somebody that's got training and development experience, because they would be doing train the trainer ongoing. So that is a higher skill set. Because isn't that the assumption that it's the person who would be doing ongoing training?
That is the hope, certainly. No.
That is a higher skill set.
So with that could put our budget out of whack then. That is not gonna fit within the current. We have budgeted for 92,000, right?
Yes, sir.
But if we hire at that higher level, as you just mentioned, we could then put our budget out of whack by doing that.
I think it's step 4 or step 5 is 91,000. And I believe that as a, I don't want, I'm gonna say policy here, but we have always placed a limit on, how high up we would start a new candidate, even with experience. And that would be something that would be a hiring decision that there would be a maximum we would go to.
Do we have a motion? I think it's appropriate for a motion at this point.
I move to approve the hiring of a third dispatch supervisor in 2024 at pay grade 8 by converting the funding for the maintenance safety position and eliminating that position in future budgets.
Is there a second
Second.
discussion? Any discussion? We have a motion and a second, last call for discussion.
So I just want to make sure we're clear that if we hire this safety dispatcher, we've eliminated the, no,
The
no,
dispatch.
the third dispatch supervisor, sorry, we've eliminated the safety position. And in position control then, the only way for this to be relatively budget neutral is to ensure that that other position is eliminated. So it doesn't get built into the 2025 budget. That is what the motion is. So there's clarity around that. That position needs to come back. It needs to come back with a job description that's appropriate. It needs to come back as a supplemental request to say we want to add a new position. That both positions are not built into the budget going forward. That's what the motion says.
So we're saying we won't have this position in the 2025 budget,
We'll have this position we're talking about
Yes,
now.
but
We
this,
will not have the safety position. It will need to come back as a supplemental request to add budget capacity. Because we're using this year's budget capacity and future year's budget capacity to create
oh, I
this
see what you're
position.
saying. Okay,
Yeah.
right, okay. Thanks for that clarification.
That's why I want clear.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, I think we are ready to vote, not seeing any objections, so those all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, our next, let's see, I need a motion to discuss business item number 5.
So
Second. Any discussion? Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adding business item number 5, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. All right. So. We have, we've stopped receiving applications for the executive director. We received 23 applications. 13 were selected for interviews by the recruiting agency. 11 have been recommended for us to consider. Melanie and I have talked about the process going forward. And this is what we need to do. We are planning, and want your input, of course, we're planning to send these 11 recommended resumes out to each board member for review and scoring. We will have a score sheet. The score sheet, you will score each resume 1 to 10, let's say, 1 to 5. I don't care what it is, but some spectrum. And you will send your score sheet back in. And then we will assemble the all the scores, and the highest scoring applicants will be invited in for an interview. My question is that an acceptable approach? And 2, how many do we want to interview? How many applicants do we want to physically see here? And 3, what date works for the board for those interviews? And 4, do you have any other comments, which I'm sure you do? So, Melanie, did you want to, add anything here?
No, I just want the board members to feel that they have the opportunity to be as involved in this as they choose to be. From the beginning of selecting who we're gonna interview through the entire thing. So the board members need to decide what level of involvement they want to have in this process.
Other comments? I need to hear from everybody in this discussion.
So the consultant group gave us 11 for consideration. What is their feedback on how many we should see?
They don't have feedback. They're not telling us, not making a recommendation there. That's I asked that question too.
It seems like we should see the scoring results before we determine how many to interview. So if we've got 2 that are all at 10s, and then the next level down is 4, well, we're interviewing 2. Right, so I think it's a little premature to know where the cutoff is until we see where the rankings are. Think that's wrong, Fred?
I don't know if we got scores. These resumes just came through last night, so I don't know. I would like to get the answer to that question. So I'm gonna step outside and call to see if the headhunter actually gave a number to each of them.
I'm sorry, I thought you said you gave us, I thought we were getting 11 resumes to rank.
Yeah.
And then from our board
Oh,
rank,
okay, I see.
we would then say, is there an immediate line where you can tell that that's where the cutoff?
I see what you're saying, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
I'm aligned with that. if that makes
Okay,
sense.
so, to move this along, we should now talk dates.
Melanie and Janet, have you done?
Melanie, yes.
No, I'm just asking if they did.
Oh, no, okay.
I'm
I'm
fine with this
seeing-
process as presented.
What's that?
I am fine with the process you presented.
Okay, great. So we need to then discuss when the board members are gonna get the scores back to us and when we're gonna come together to decide how many to choose. So first, when can the board look at 11 recommended resumes and get your scores back? Shall I suggest a date? How about by the end of the weekend of the, let's say, Monday morning, the 16th, 10 a.m.? Does
That's,
that work?
that's really fast. Given that we're at this, that gives us just next week to review 11 thoughtfully. That feels really fast. I can make it happen, but that is a big push.
Do you want to postpone it to the 20, other board member comments?
Yeah, other
Yeah.
board member comments.
we're not doing reference checks, we're not verifying their resumes, I'm making sure, because I was just gonna read through it and rank their qualifications based on whatever criteria we are being given, based on the substance of the resume they're providing, so I don't have to do any research, I just have to read and rank, right?
That's true. And I will also be sending out the consultant reports that we got where we talked about the characteristics we're looking for.
Yeah,
Because that's our vision of this executive director. So that will refresh our memories about what we were looking for.
I mean, I just want to make, because what Janet's saying is correct, if we have to do background checks, that's not enough time, but that's not what we're doing, we're just evaluating based on the information they're presenting.
So other comments about September 16th, anybody? Is that?
I can make that work. I'm gonna block out the morning of the 13th to make sure I get it done, so I can make that happen.
Okay, it sounds like the 16th, okay. So we will get those resumes to you. I've got to verify we have them all. And we'll get them out to you as soon as we possibly can.
Is it possible to have whatever selection criteria they used, whatever rubric they used to go from the 23 to the 13 to the 11 that they're providing to us?
I will ask you, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, then, when are we gonna come together to, after we get all of those scores, assemble the scores, we'll send out a summary of that. And then we need to come together as a board to decide how many we're gonna invite in. So we need to schedule a special board meeting. When shall we have it? Okay, I'll propose that we have the board meeting, special board meeting on the 20th, which is a Friday, likely. Will be in under an hour,
I'm not available that day.
not available. that
I
day.
am not available that day.
I'm sorry, I am out of pocket from the 14th until the 22nd.
Aha,
So
okay,
if
I have medical stuff
I
with
can
my
make
mother
an
that day.
attempt to phone in, but I'm sort of on holiday.
do you want to send your comments to me and I could represent them and have, you know,
do that.
okay, so,
Depending on when you guys decide you're gonna do it, but
so the 20th is still on the table for the other.
I am unavailable on the 20th. I have medical appointments with my mother that
I'm
day.
sorry, Jack. Okay, I think we are not gonna do the 20th, can we do the 19th in the afternoon?
No,
No,
Can we do I think we're gonna have to go to the next week,
or we have to do stuff in the evenings.
okay?
Yeah,
I
we
don't,
could do,
I'm just putting that out there as, I'm not trying to speak for everybody else, but I am speaking for my calendar, which is like full
Okay,
during the day, so
so
we moved
I-
it evening.
would the
I could do the
evening,
evening of the 17th.
I'm not sure if we'll have enough time to assemble everything.
Which
the
is
next-
getting
by the
scores
next
together,
day.
right?
What's that?
I mean, it's just a matter of ranking scores, right, at that point? So if you get them all by 10 o'clock on Monday, we just go, okay, well,
Okay,
let's
right.
do the
17th,
scoring.
shall we do the 17th in the evening?
I can do this evening of the 17th.
I cannot.
Okay, so we have 5 or 6 board members.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. I can't do the 17th until after 5:30. I had a late afternoon appointment.
We're talking like 7 p.m.
Okay, I can do 7 PM.
So it sounds like
Have a council meeting on the 17th.
you what?
Have council meeting on the 17th.
Okay, 18th? 18th, evening of the 18th?
Let me see.
I'll be at Lincoln Center. Sorry.
What time?
No,
I'll throw out 7 o'clock.
no. Sorry, I have an evening board meeting with a state board I'm on.
When is it over?
8 o'clock.
How about 6 o'clock on the 18th?
No, I'm out of pocket.
Okay, 19th, evening. So name a time.
I could do, is this gonna be Zoom or in person?
We can Zoom.
I could probably commit to 7:30 on Thursday, the 19th.
Okay, how does that work for everybody else's calendar?
Are we doing 7:30 meeting?
7:30 is what's being proposed. We're waiting to hear from others here. I can do it.
Do it.
Okay, we have a meeting, special meeting scheduled September 19th, 7:30 PM.
And this will be an executive session to discuss the, I mean,
Applicant.
there's gotta be an RCW or something, isn't there, Matt?
Yes, to consider the applications for public employment.
Yeah,
All right. So we will be having no public.
no public involvement.
Okay, great.
That'll be a public meeting. though.
It'll be a public meeting and we'll immediately go into executive session.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that?
It's just
We'll
scheduling.
just schedule it, yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you, everybody, for that. We now move on to monthly reports. I don't have a prepared executive director's report with this meeting. I will just say, a large number of staff meetings, are meeting with staff, and Commissioner Bacon and I have met a number of times, including weekends, actually, moving through the issues of the day present themselves, so, which are numerous. All right. Is there other business that needs to come before the board? All right, board member comments.
I just have a request for a future meeting. I would like to get an update on what the cancellation rates have been. We got a report earlier in the year with some troubling statistics, and so if that could be something that could be provided at a later meeting, that would be great.
Okay, absolutely. Take
Thank you,
note.
Brett.
Perfect, okay. All right, we're about to go into the closed session. Any other things that need to come up before we move into closed session? Okay.
I'd like some clarification on our process regarding the applications that we're going to be reviewing. Who will be sending them to us? To whom do we provide them afterwards? That kind of thing.
I want to ask you, do they have to go out under executive?
I think I was reminded, I haven't come through me.
So they'll be coming from Matt. You'll be replying to that back to Matt. And then Matt and I will connect, and I'll assemble the score data into a spreadsheet.
Okay. Okay, and it's okay that the board does not know until we meet on the 17th, who all has been, is the final ones we're talking about, or the scores or anything, is the board okay with that, with not having that information prior to our meeting?
The rankings
Yeah,
of the 11.
yeah.
No, I'm keen to get that as soon as I can.
No, I think she's asked, I think, no.
Oh, I see.
I think she's asking, are we comfortable in seeing our collective rankings for the first time at our?
Good question.
Yes.
So
That's
can,
it.
or not?
Well, if I have it, there's enough time, there's a gap, I can maybe do a quick memo of the summary of it. We'll do it.
And that'd be great. I just, if you can't, you can't.
Depending on when the data comes in, but yeah,
Perfect, okay.
should be able to turn that pretty fast if I get it.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Okay, we,
First you need a motion. to
I
see
know,
if
I
we're gonna
just
do-
said that. I was gonna say that, I promise. I need a motion to include the closed session.
So moved.
There's a motion to include a closed session and second, any discussion? Seeing no hands, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Says. We are now moving into closed session regarding a collective bargaining sessions, RCW 42.3.1404B. And RCW 42.3.1101D. Thanks very much.
You want to get an estimated time, I know you don't have.
Right,
to, just-
yes. Can you let everybody know about the bus out there?
Correct.
Give you the one that's in my parking spot.
I want you guys all to take a look at it.
Yeah, we've parked a bus outside. One we're considering for purchase. And will come get you so you can answer questions.
All right. How you doing, sir?
Thanks, John.
Thank you. And as far as how long we'll be in this, we'd say 15 minutes to start out.
Okay, and there'll be no action at the end of this.
She's removing them now. Thank you.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with her because she's got her system right now.
Thank you.
It won't be an open session.
Right.
So Craig, I left a message for Shannon. I wasn't able to speak to her directly. I've called her a couple times now. And so if she shows up in the waiting room, I'll drop her into the closed session.
Okay, appreciate it.
And give
Thanks.
me a second here. Give me a second, please. I need to stop recording and I need to remove people into the waiting room. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Island Transit Board is coming out of closed session. We're in open session. I don't think we have any other business, no comments, motions, so we are now closing this meeting. And yeah, I'd like to remind the board that we have a bus outside. I would highly encourage you to take a tour of it. Somebody needs to go tell Will that we are done and he should be out there shortly. Thank you very much, everybody.
We're adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Bye.